Okay, time being 7 p.m., I'd like to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the traditional territory acknowledgement, followed by a moment of silence. Council of the Township of Red Rock hereby acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Robinson Superior Treaty, that the land we gather on is home to the Red Rock Indian Band, Anishinaabe, and Métis people. Administration advises that there is an addition to the agenda under the closed session portion of the meeting. Do any members of council wish to make amendments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for motion to approve the agenda as amended? Councilor Eby, Councilor Muir, all in favor? Motion's carried. Are there any declarations of interest to disclose? Seeing none. Okay, first item on the agenda is Charla Napton from MPAC, here to present property assessment and the tax system, which I always think I know it, and then somebody says something, and then I'm like, everything I knew is is out the window. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being here. And not short notice, but when we asked you to come to present, unfortunately, we didn't get any public engagement from what I hear. So we might have questions from councillors, but okay.
Just once? Okay, Brad, good. Too loud? Is that good? Okay. Thank you for having me here tonight. As the mayor said, my name is Charla Napton, and I'm an account manager with the Municipal and Stakeholder Relations branch at the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, or MPAC for short. I know I've had an opportunity to meet with most of you over the past few years at conferences, and we did have an initial training session when you first became councillors. So I'm just here to do another quick overview again of MPAC, what we do, and where we fit into the property and assessment and taxation process. I know property taxes are top of discussion amongst your constituents and the council table, especially around budget times. So I just wanted to provide you with a little bit of information for you to help your residents and any residents that may be watching tonight. I could do the clicker. Oh. Go. So we're Ontario property experts. Our job is to assess and classify more than 5.6 million properties across Ontario with a combined value of more than $3 trillion. Every municipality uses our assessments to make informed decisions about their community, including the distribution of property taxes. Ontario's property tax system and these assessments generate approximately $30 billion in tax revenue annually. When it comes to property assessment and taxation in Ontario, there are 4 key players. The provincial government, specifically the Ministry of Finance, is responsible for setting assessment and taxation legislation as well as policies. The province also sets the education property tax rate. The Assessment Review Board, which adjudicates appeals of MPAC's assessed values, also falls under the jurisdiction of the province. MPAC is an independent, not-for-profit corporation funded by all Ontario municipalities. Our role is to accurately assess and classify more than 5.5 million properties across Ontario. We do this in compliance with the Assessment Act and regulations set by the Government of Ontario. We are accountable to the province, municipalities, and property taxpayers of Ontario through a board of directors that is comprised of provincial, municipal, and taxpayer representatives appointed by the Minister of Finance. Municipalities, you determine your budget requirements, what is needed for programs and services provided by the municipality. You also set the tax rates and collect property taxes to pay for these services and programs. You use our assessments and the established tax rates to distribute the tax requirement to ratepayers. And finally, the property owners. pay the property tax bill, and help set market value through ongoing property purchases and sales. MPAC is responsible for delivering an assessment role every year to municipalities and the province of Ontario. Maintaining Ontario's property database is very important so that municipal records are accurate when you are making important tax decisions. We do this by supporting property owners and municipalities through monitoring sales trends, processing severances and consolidations, responding to vacancies and tax applications, addressing requests for reconsiderations, inspecting and assessing new constructions, additions, and renovations promptly. Monitoring the market and assessing newly built and renovated properties are things we do every day to keep our data current. We also periodically update every single property assessment in Ontario based on the same legislated valuation date. We call this an assessment update or a reassessment. This date is set by the Ontario government. The valuation date for the most recent assessment update, which took effect in 2017, was January 1st, 2016. This is when we determined what every single property in Ontario could have reasonably sold for in its current state and condition at a particular point in time. As you're aware, the Ontario government is conducting a review of the property assessment and taxation system and has committed to pausing on a province-wide assessment update until that review concludes. So that means all properties in Ontario are currently assessed with the January 1st, 2016 valuation date until the review is complete. The review will focus on a system-level review of fairness, affordability, and impact of property taxes on business competitiveness. As we work with the province throughout this review, we are focused on reaffirming the importance of regular assessments, improving the exchange of information with our municipal partners, and building enhanced products and services that meet the needs of our partners and the communities we serve. Now let's chat about current value assessment. Ontario's property tax system is based on everyone paying their portion of what it costs to deliver community services. To do this, all properties are assigned a value at a common valuation date. This is a principle called current value assessment. Current value assessment is the market value at a point in time. It's the price a property might reasonably be expected to sell for if sold by a willing seller to a willing buyer after appropriate time and exposure on an open market. As review is underway, as I mentioned, all property values in Ontario will continue to have a current value assessment based on a January 1st, 2016 valuation date. So you might hear from residents sometimes that might buy a property for $200,000 and maybe their assessment's only $100,000 and they might question that. Or they build a brand new house and it's assessed a lot lower than it would sell on the market for. That is why all properties in Ontario, whether it's a newly built property, a newly added garage, it's all added out of 2016 value. Now let's talk briefly about valuation. In Ontario, there are 3 industry-wide standardized approaches to valuing properties. The first of these approaches is the direct comparison approach, which is used primarily for residential properties, condos, and vacant land, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail later. Then there is the income approach used for industrial malls, office buildings, shopping centers, and a variety of others. And lastly, the cost approach, which is typically used for general purpose industrial properties, small retail, warehousing, just to name a few. This approach is used when a property is unique and rarely sold on the open market, as we cannot rely on either sales or direct comparison to value the property due to lack of data. So that'd be something like a mill or a mine. So I just want to go over quickly how we assess residential properties and options for your residents, as I know that's who you might hear from the most about property taxes and assessment. When evaluating residential properties and vacant land, we use the direct comparison approach. With this approach, we analyze sales of comparable properties that were sold for a similar or identical use as the property to be valued to provide an indication of value. It is also important to note that only valid open market sales transactions are used in this analysis. So example, if somebody, there was an inheritance and somebody purchased the house, or there was a separation and somebody purchased the house through a settlement, those wouldn't be things that would count as valid sales because it's not a true picture of the value of that property. Now, when we're looking at the valuation of a residential home, although our analysis tool considers over 200 factors, there are 5 factors that make up approximately 85% of a typical home's value. These include the age of a property, which gets adjusted for any major renovations or additions that have occurred. So for example, somebody has a house that's 70 years old and they gut it and they redo it, then we're going to update the age of that property. The location, the market area, the neighborhood, is it waterfront, urban? The quality of construction, we have classes from 1 to 10, with 1 being very low. So maybe no foundation, no interior walls, for example, versus a 10, which could be, high quality custom design. Look at the exterior square footage and lot dimensions. Now, there's a lot of other things that are considered as well. Is there a finished basement? Is there a full bath, half bath, fireplace, pool, garage, additional structures? So those are things that we look at as well. But like I said, those 5 main things make up 85% of a home's value. We also classify properties. That's our responsibility as well. And we do that according to the legislation that's set out by the Ontario government. So you might have a resident contact you asking you why MPAC is inspecting their property or why they received a letter from MPAC. We update property information, as I mentioned, on an ongoing basis due to building permits, sales, a request for reconsideration, appeals, tax applications, and property reviews, which could be initiated by the property owner or the municipality. We mail letters to residential property owners to let them know in advance when we're going to be in the neighborhood to do an inspection. We also send them letters asking them for more information. If we go to visit the property and the property owner is not home, we will leave a door hanger letting them know to contact us because we need more information. If we don't hear from a property owner, we may need to estimate their assessment. And we do state that in the letters that we send out and the documents we leave behind. So if you hear from anybody, that's received a letter, encourage them to contact MPAC because our data is only as good as the data that we receive from the municipality or the property owner. After we assess a property or change an assessment, we mail the property owner a property assessment notice. And sometimes property owners do not agree with our assessed value. A property owner might reach out to you to let you know that they disagree with our assessment. And it's important to remember that assessment is not property taxes. If you get an inquiry, you can help us by asking the property owner a few questions. Could they have sold their property on January 1st, 2016 for the assessed value? Have they visited About My Property to review the information MPAC has on file regarding their property to ensure it's correct? Have they visited About My Property to do a comparison of similar properties in the neighborhood? If the property owner still disagrees with their assessment, they have the option to file a request for reconsideration and we will review it free of charge. The quickest way to do this is from About My Property, but you can also call in and they can also have papers sent to them. So I just want to talk a little bit about My Property. About My Property is an online tool that's available through our website, mpac.ca, where property owners can see the information we have on file, learn more about how we assess their property, and compare their assessment to others in the area. I encourage everybody to go on there. If you haven't, as counselors, gone on About My Property to look up your own property, I suggest you get familiar with that so you can explain that to your constituents as well. But it will show you everything about your property, the square footage we have on file, the class we have for it, the structures we have for it. Oftentimes people might not take out a building permit for something, even for a demo. Someone might 20 years ago might not have taken out a demo permit for a garage. We could still have that on file. So unless people check their property details, we don't know that's not there. So this is part of our commitment to clearly and openly explain the property assessment process and how we arrive at values. This is also where the property owner can easily file the request for reconsideration. That's the fastest way for it to be done and also easily track it. So I encourage you, if you have any residents that come forward, to have them look at our website for more information, contact About My Property, or contact our customer service center, which I'll give the number for you at the end. Now let's spend a moment to address the relationship between property taxes and assessment. Assessments distribute taxes. They do not determine the taxes paid. The overall amount municipalities must collect in taxes is based on how much you need to spend for your services, and impacts assessments help you distribute that amount. When a province-wide assessment update does occur, the most important, sorry about that. And when a province-wide assessment update occurs, the most important factor is not how much the assessed value of a property has changed, but rather how the assessed value has changed relative to the average change in the class in that community. There's been talk and concern amongst the general public and taxpayers that the next assessment update, which has not yet been announced by the province, will cause property taxes to go up at the same rate that housing prices have gone up. That is not true. An assessment update doesn't change the total tax revenue a municipality can collect. Property tax reassessments are revenue neutral. It won't set what taxes are needed to be paid, but rather rebalance who pays what to ensure fairness. By regulation, municipalities must lower their tax rates to offset assessment increase and attribute tax increases to spending increases, not assessment increases. So let's say, for example, your housing values doubled since 2016. So let's pretend, for simple math, we have a municipality that has one house, and that house is valued at $100,000. The municipality needs $5,000 in tax revenue to run its programs and services. So the municipality would set a tax rate of 5% to get that $5,000. Now let's say an assessment update happens. That $100,000 house is now valued at $200,000. Well, the municipality still needs, assuming they still need $5,000 to run the town, then they would just change the tax rate to a lower tax rate to collect that $5,000 that they need. Looking at it a little differently, if a reassessment occurs and the total of cost of all municipal services hasn't changed, a property that has an average assessment change similar to the properties in the area will likely not have a change in taxes, as seen in the middle example here. If the assessment change is lower than the average in the area, the taxes will likely decrease, as seen on the left. If the assessment change is higher than the average in the area, the taxes will likely increase, as seen on the right. We do have a little video I'm going to play that kind of explains it, and this is on our website as well. Yeah, do you have to play it from there? Oh, okay. Perfect. So our focus is always building on awareness about property assessment and taxation and MPAC's role. This is important even in a non-reassessment year. We understand that property assessment can be complex. We hear that from municipalities and property owners. That's why we've been communicating with property owners and Ontarians more than ever to help them understand the property assessment and taxation system, learn more about who we are, and easily find the information and resources they need. We have social media campaigns and educational videos and a new first-time homeowners hub. We've been running a spring campaign similar to last year that ends at the end of June this year. We're using a number of social media platforms to get our messaging out, hoping that property owners will go to our webpage and will learn more about assessment. We'll continue to focus our efforts on providing helpful and easy to understand resources directly to property owners and to municipalities to help you answer property owner questions. We engage with municipalities and we support municipalities on a regular basis. We have regular meetings with your municipal administration and staff. We do training sessions with them as well. We have conferences and we present at conferences. We have ongoing support for MPAC products and services. We have our In Touch newsletter, which lets you know what is new and coming up at MPAC. We also have a municipal resources page on our website with social media shareables. There's also a buck slip that I think Mark might have been using to include in tax bills. Maybe, no. Anyways, we do have things that can be printed off and put in tax bills to direct property owners to About My Property. We're constantly trying to improve communication with property owners and directing them to MPAC. And by working together, you guys share that message, share that social media information, share that information on your website. We can help get that message across. So this is just a reminder, I'm here if you need me for anything. I'm your account manager at MPAC. I know this was a very brief info session. Like I said, property assessment is complex. I'm happy to give any of you a brief overview if you want of About My Property, or if you have any further questions about, if you want to go deeper into any kind of anything in particular. If you have questions from concerned citizens that you want to ask, feel free to reach out to me. I'll give you Mark my card. You can get that before you leave, or you can funnel them through Mark as well. Does anybody have any questions? I know there wasn't anything that came through the, oops. Oh, did you want to have that? I'm going to leave this up there with the customer contact number.
Are there any questions? Councillor Muir?
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I just, obviously there's a bit of a panic with regards to the assessments from 2016 and what's going to happen. I know we went through everything, and there's not going to be any surprises. I know it's being handled very delicately. I think one of the biggest concerns out there are when a municipality is doing its tax increases, there has to be a way, and I know I keep hearing there's not, because it's been a few years I've been asking, but there has to be something for our seniors. We want people to stay in their homes longer, but if you have an assessed value of your house and they're paying thousands and thousands of dollars a year in municipal taxes, is the province looking at any way, or is there some way they're going to step in with bursaries or write-offs? Because municipalities still need their money for operations, but it's with the cost of municipal taxes and the cost for the municipalities, there's got to be a cap. There has to be a cap. Like, people shouldn't be paying $9,000-$10,000 a year in property taxes. This shouldn't be happening. Is there a plan in place, or can there be a system in place to get those people, once you hit a certain age, your cap is $6,500. That's it.
So that would be something as a municipal councillor that you might want to bring forward through your advocacy work, with the appropriate political staff. That's MPAC doesn't make those decisions. That would be up to the province to make any decisions. It's not up to us to determine who would get a tax break or who would. That's up to the province in their review. So I'd advise to talk to Mark or talk amongst yourselves or other councillors. Again, that's not for us. I mean, there is the the grant that the government does provide. Whether they're going to provide anything further, I'm not, we don't know that.
Councillor Smith.
Thanks again for the presentation. My question kind of relates to the video that you just displayed. So our town has a large number of properties that are undervalued. And then some homes had more recent accurate assessments due to valuations. So would it be safe to assume that once the next reassessment is done and the rest of the homes are brought up to their proper valuation, is it reasonable to expect that those other homes that had more recent evaluations, their taxes would come down because, as you stated there, the average price of the home would kind of equalize, and then?
I'm not going to speculate because I don't know which houses you're talking about. And are they ones that have been recently assessed because they have updates?
Yes.
And they're valued higher than something that was built 50 years ago or 75 years ago? I don't know I don't know right now how much those houses are going to go up in comparison to the other ones. Those are things that we'll discuss once we have an assessment update. We'll be discussing that with municipal councils before things go out.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going based on the math, the simple math that was up there, and you showed that, this house, didn't really change, but this house went up. So taxes for each house would change appropriately. I'm not saying how much it will, but knowing for the fact that the last time it was reassessed was in January 2016. It's now, 9 years later, and a house, maybe 3 or 4 houses in town that were assessed in the last year or two, their valuation would be significantly higher than houses that would be.
No, because
Assessed
it
9
would be
years ago.
valued at 2016 value. So it's, even if a house was built today or a garage was built today, we're putting a value on it at 2016. So everybody across the province is based on a 2016 value, even if they built that house today.
Okay.
So we would say, what was that house worth in 2016? And that's the value we put on it for assessment. So people that just renovated, they're not paying a higher, they're not assessed higher than somebody else. Everyone's assessed at 2016. Yes, they might be assessed higher because maybe they have a newer garage. Their garage is
So
3 years
even-
old,
even
or
those-
someone who's 30 years old.
So even those individuals that would have called, go, hey, can you reassess me? You still would have only reassessed at that 2016 value,
Yes.
and not 2022.
Yes.
2023.
2016 value,
Okay.
because that's the legislated date by the government.
All right, no, that's like,
Mhm. Yeah, I know there's a misconception out there and people think, oh, I just built my house and I'm getting assessed at this rate, right? But no, everyone's at 2016 values.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Eby.
From doing your presentations around different municipalities, are there 2 or 3 key themes that come up other than what my colleagues have just asked, that are common concerns or worries or issues for homeowners?
I think just, again, not understanding, how assessment works and its relationship to taxation, and worrying about the next assessment update, right? Assuming that their taxes are going to double because their property values doubled. So I think that's one of the main concerns that councillors hear from property owners. And some of the concerns that he expressed as well, people can't afford to pay the property taxes.
I just, yeah, thank you for your presentation. I have been on the My Property website.
I know you have.
And it's quite interesting because my house, the last time, all the information was from 1995. So it had, baseboard heat and unfinished business, and all, like, the garage was a dirt floor when it was a cement. So, I mean, we updated it and it did change our assessment. But it is quite interesting that, and I think everybody should access what their property, what their property is and all the information that's on there, because it could be, I mean, that was 20 some years ago, right? So-
Yeah. Yeah. And if you do need your last property assessment notice to go on it, because there's the key on there. If somebody doesn't have that, they can call the customer contact number and get that notice so that they can log in and look at things.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much. We hear a lot of complaints and people had the opportunity today to at least submit something and we didn't get anything. So it's
Hey,
unfortunate.
everybody must be
but-
happy then. Well, now they've got my email.
Yeah. So thank you again and safe travels home tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, item 3.1 is the open and closed session minutes of the last regular meeting, June 2nd, are at items 3.1 on the agenda. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the open session minutes? Seeing none. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the closed session minutes? No. May I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the open and closed session minutes at items 3.1 on the agenda? Counselor Muir. Counselor Evie. All in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, we have no resolutions from communities or municipalities. Next item 4.4.2 is information purposes regarding a news release from Superior North EMS Chief in relation to the current negotiations for Superior North EMS paramedics. Do any members of council have any remarks on this? Seeing none. Next item 4.3 is information purposes regarding a news release from Unifor Local 229 in relation to a 97% strike vote from Superior North EMS paramedics. Do any members of council have any remarks on this? Seeing none. Okay, first report 6.1 is from the Community Development Officer. Miss Ashley. Welcome. Do any members of council have any questions on Ashley's report, or should we just highlight a couple things? Go ahead.
So the, I'm gonna say key highlights, our greenhouse gas reduction pathway feasibility study has been completed and we are completing the final reporting to the funder for our final disbursement. Canada Day planning is underway. We have the activities finalized and the program will be going out this week. So keep an eye out in your mailboxes for the Canada Day program. I could still use a couple more volunteers. So if anybody's available for an hour or two on Canada Day, that would be greatly appreciated. So some of the main highlights for Canada Day are the Legion will be doing its breakfast from 9 to 11. And then we will be having the float and wheels decorating contest again for the parade. So if anybody is looking to participate in the parade for large vehicles, ATVs and side-by-sides and quads, and then bikes, wagons, strollers, etc. We'll have those 3 different categories. Judging will take place at 12:30 and the parade will start at 1 o'clock at the Recreation Center on Baker Road, and then head down Baker Road to the Interpretive Center and the flagpole down by the Marina kiosk. We'll have our opening ceremonies at the parade, and then we'll have our community picnic style Canada Day celebrations. So we've got our watermelon eating contest, scavenger hunt, bubble station, cornhole. The Fish and Game Club will be doing a minnow races and a kids prize pond. We've got a balloon toss that EMS is doing. We've got some cornhole going on. Our cook-off this year is cakes, so please, if you'd like, bake a cake, any kind of cake. We just need enough for 4 people to eat for our judges. It will be a blind taste test, so we'll have the entry forms to get the information about the cake, and then our judges will be judging the cakes. And we do have our trophy and prizes for our first, second, and third places. There'll be obstacle course, fun run. The fire department will be doing a chip-off contest again, and we'll have the prizes, closing remarks, bonfire, music. We'll be having s'mores as long as our fire band stays off. And fireworks in the evening. And Councillor Muir has been looking after the music for us. So thank you, Councillor Muir. Yeah, so that's kind of the main activities that are happening on Canada Day. And Paiute Mountain Run has been going well. We've got, actually, sorry, just for the Canada Day, we have quite a few sponsors who have stepped up to the plate to support specific activities. We did receive our funding from the Government of Canada, so we do have to do our funding for our Canada Day activities are provided by the Government of Canada and the Celebrate Canada Fund, as well as OPG, the credit union, Tanner's Lawn and Drive, a couple other ones. So those are our main sponsors. And let's see. Yeah. Paiute Mountain Run is underway. Could still use a couple more volunteers for that. We've got about 20 registrants. It's been great partnering with the meter readers in Thunder Bay, and our postcards have been distributed at some of the main races. We've got registrants from Winnipeg, Nova Scotia, and then we've got one from Newfoundland. So we've got some coming to the area to visit family and participating in the Paiute. So it's pretty neat to see where everybody's coming from. We've got some new sponsorships this year for the Paiute Mountain Run and partnerships, so that's pretty cool. Our community yard sale is Saturday, June 21st from 9 to 3. So please note early birds. The map will be posted around town and on social media and our website in the next day or two. We've got about 25 people registered for the yard sale. So I'm sure if you drive around town on any street, there will be at least 1 or 2 people having a yard sale. We also have a couple properties out on Cantley Drive, so don't forget those properties out there. The rest of it has kind of been continuing activities with the RV park. The fire pits have been ordered. We do have picnic tables that were funded through Nextbridge that will be used for the RV park sites. So that's probably the biggest one. I've been in contact with a couple different playground companies who are putting together a couple different packages. One is based off of the current size of the area for the playground, and one is a little bit of an expansion that would head farther towards the rocks and the trees towards the bandstand that way. The bouldering wall, I've been in contact with Denny No regarding the boulder wall. And our newest project that we're working on an application is for the health and safety water systems stream. And that one, we do have a resolution coming up for that one. So we have changed the components of that funding stream to include the UV systems in the water treatment plant, which are now obsolete. We cannot get parts for them anymore. So that is definitely something that needs to be upgraded. So there are 2 UV systems. There's an air compressor and a dryer. So the water treatment plant valves are all on a pneumatic system. So it moves air through the entire system to adjust the valves for everything to operate. And so those are 2 essential components of the water treatment plant operations. And then we've got a clarifier valve and expansion joint. So we're looking at about the $500,000 project mark. Township's contribution would be about 148, which would be split between our funding streams that we get annual allocations for through OSIF and CCBF. So we do have our updated cost estimates for engineering, project management, and replacement costs for those. So this project stream has a mandatory 25% contingency. So that's the value is slightly over $500,000 at this time, unless things go completely sideways. We're not anticipating using that entire amount, but we do have to provide that based off of the provincial requirements for that stream. So that's about it. Any questions?
Councillor Brand.
I just had a question regarding the regional trail meetings. That's going to be starting up again where the trails are going to be maintained and volunteers are going to be
Yes.
looked at. Do we have dates for any of those?
We don't have any specific dates for the trail maintenance, so we wait until a little bit of the growth has come in just to see where everything is and how it's overhanging the trails. So we'll have some trail maintenance probably happening in about the next month. I have received cost estimates for our annual walkthroughs. So just final confirmation on that. There has been work through the Land of the Nipigon waterways. They've got a group of rangers and volunteers that are helping with the Nipigon River Recreation Trail. And there was also some funding that was received for additional gloves and cutters and mosquito net hats. So we have all of that equipment ready for when we do the volunteers. So we do have a regular trail maintenance that will go through first, and then we'll have our volunteer day to assist with afterwards. In between Canada Day and the Paiute somewhere. So maybe in July.
Councillor Smith.
Just one. For the dock inspection report, Dr. Paris, is that still, is that including that one small dock by the log driver?
So it was originally just for the main marina docks and slips. That would be a surface inspection, as well as we'd have to bring in divers to do the underwater inspection. Initially, it did not, just based off of the funding that was available at that time when it was originally on the radar for the Tourism Growth Fund. But I went down and took a couple pictures of the dock, the little dock, just to see, oh yeah, the floats have come out from underneath the end of it. So I believe that's something that Mark, you've been working on, the little dock one there. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
no problem.
Any other questions or comments on Ashley's report? That's great that there's 25 houses signed up. I might sneak one in if I have time to get all my stuff. Yeah, but that's great. So I will for sure get that out on CFNO. Also, something else I was going to bring up. So the Paiutes run, you're just looking for a couple more volunteers?
Yep.
Okay. We'll check my schedule, but you should be able to help out with last year.
Okay. Yeah. When we did our feedback surveys, everybody thought it was pretty cool that the mayor was at the top of the hill to say hi and to get water and pictures. They actually like it as a photo op. So the non-competitive participants like to go up and stop and have a drink of water and take a look at the view. So they've appreciated that the mayor was at the top greeting them. They thought it was kind of cool.
That's great to hear. I am working July 1st, so I will be planning the water balloon toss. So I won't be able to assist with any, the welcoming or the "O Canada" singing and all that kind of stuff. So, but you do a great job doing that.
Thank you.
You can have that one.
And our deputy mayor is more than welcome to come and say a few words as part of our opening and closing ceremonies.
Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the report? All in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to submit an application to the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program, Health and Safety Water Stream for essential work to equipment in the water treatment plant for a total project cost of $605,256.25 and a municipal portion of $154,045.75 or 27% plus non-refundable HST and any cost overruns. Councillor Eby, Councillor Smith, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ashley. Next item, 6.2 is a report on administrative activities. We have Mark's report. Are there any-
Yeah, it's the second meeting of the month. Sometimes it's a smaller report as department staff report as well. So I think if we skip, I can go right down to direction, discussion, and updates, and then if there's any general questions, we can field those at the end. So the Quad Council meeting again, we're going to meet this week, I believe, to put some finals together for that. But again, if there's any agenda items that any member of council would like to be brought forward, please get them to us as soon as possible, because those deadlines are coming, and we can bring that again from the Township of Red Rock. Phragmites discussion. So we've looked, and I've had multiple discussions and meetings now with the Lakehead Region Conservation Area, as well as the Invasive Species Center. Councillor Eby has also helped and assisted with some photos that we were looking at getting as well. So we have come to the conclusion that at this point, we're going to have a member of the Lakehead Region Conservation Area come into Red Rock in August, just to determine what we're up against, or if anything at this point. We're not sure. Councillor Eby has actually did a little bit of his own research on it as well, and had an app that kind of they've guided us towards, and we're unsure, and at this point leaning towards the fact that we don't see a species that matches, but they're happy to come down in August and have a closer look. So we're working on organizing that with them at the moment. And we can keep you updated on that. The garbage truck, so our garbage truck, kind of a status update on its condition. So we did have some issues, obviously, with the engine and the performance of the garbage truck, as well as we took the option of sending it to a shop in Thunder Bay to have a look at it. It ended up in the shop. There's some serious concerns around safety for the vehicle. And there's also serious concerns around the condition of the operational around the engine. So the direction at this point, and the discussions I've had with the company that's looking at it, and their recommendation is basically that the truck will not pass the safety coming. And at this point, we're not recommending that we try to diagnose what could be tens of thousands of dollars worth of repairs on a truck that's not going to pass safety in a couple of months. So just got some of this final news, this final update late last week. I believe I spoke with them at the truck is at Maxim Truck and Trailer in the city. I visited them Friday. I spoke with the service department, and that seems to be where we lay with that. So we're looking at other options. We're currently still sharing the truck with the Township of Nipigon. They used our truck quite a bit in the last year as well. So they had their concerns and their issues with their truck. But that's where it stands right now. The plan is to talk with Maxim this week, as early as tomorrow, and have the truck potentially just moved to a scrapping company and see what salvage value we can get on that truck. Remembering we bought the truck 3 years ago now for $2,500. We did put significantly more dollars into it, but that's I think we still came out way ahead on that deal, but we're looking at options now moving forward for that. And then the AMO conference, just again a reminder of that conference coming up in Ottawa. And that's really it, unless there's any general questions from council.
Councillor Brand?
Can I just ask again for clarification on the phragmites? Is if it is here, we can get rid of the area, like we can clean it up, but if it's not here, we have to leave it. Is that correct? We can't disturb it.
Councillor Maybe?
So just to complement our CAO's discussion, he'd asked me to take a look and see what there was. So I met with the Lakehead Regional Conservation Authority. They were extremely hospitable. Did a full presentation, provided me with an app that they use to help with the identification process, explained the differences and how to look for it from the natural to the invasive. Spent 3 days going through our whole area, not just the marina, but also the road and the railway. Didn't find any. Our CAO had stated there had been some identifications before. We're asking people to come forward with locations of which they believe that they saw it so that we can confirm it. But at this point, we didn't find any. So it was great when the Lakehead Regional Conservation Authority said they would put in an application for us for a grant and then a follow-up survey that they would come and see what they could find. I hope that complements what you were sharing.
Yeah, and for sure. And I mean, the request of them was for some really good pictures so they could really determine the stem of the plant, et cetera, if it was there. That's why I reached out to Councillor Eby because he takes really good pictures. So he was able to help. We met at the marina. He took it even that much farther, which was great, and spoke with them about an app that is again used to identify by the app and by our untrained eye or relatively untrained eye. We don't seem to see Phragmites. It's not sometimes uncommon that that you would have like a species that is very similar. But to answer, I guess, Councillor Brand's original question, if there is Phragmites in an area, it then does become a responsibility of the township to remove them. It also incurs the financial cost of that, right? So I guess to expand on the further question, if you didn't have them, then you really don't have to do anything, right? I wouldn't think. But again, they're committing. We're in a process of discussing with them, and they're suggesting they come down in August when they may be able to get a better look as well. So.
Any other questions or comments on his report? Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the report? Councillor Smith. Councillor Muir, all in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, next item 6.3 is for discussion and approval regarding the services required to ensure landfill compliance. Administration has obtained 3 quotes for the necessary work. Summary of the pricing is provided in the report. Do we have any questions or comments on that? We have used Pinchin before. We have used them, right?
Yeah, we have used Pinchin in the past. They have had some experience at the landfill with some groundwater testing, initial groundwater retesting. And yeah, we're very comfortable with this process and with them moving forward and getting the process. I mean, there is some tight deadlines here from the MECP, so we're trying to get organized as early as tomorrow to put a plan together to have some of the stages covered, and that includes a survey of the land, a volume report, capacity report. So there's a little bit to this process.
Are there any questions or comments on that? Okay, may I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the recommendation to accept the quote from Pinchin Limited in the amount of $29,145 excluding HST for the completion of stage 1 of the landfill compliance project? Councillor Smith, all in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, next we have unfinished business. Is there any update on
I don't have an update on any item other than the fact that we're still working through those processes and we'll be bringing them back to council very shortly within the next couple of months for sure.
Okay. Okay, next item 10.1 is the closed session portion of the meeting. That was the amendment to the agenda. May I have a mover and seconder for motion to go into closed session under the authorities printed in the agenda? Councillor Muir. Councillor Smith. All in favor? Motion's carried. So arising from closed session, the council discussed personal matters of an identifiable individual. That's it. Okay, next item is the bylaw to confirm proceedings of council. May I have a mover and seconder to promotion to pass the bylaw? Councillor Brand. Councillor Smith, all in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, next meeting, we are starting the summer schedule. That is one meeting per month. So next meeting is July 21st. Meeting's adjourned.